special meeting for a lot of us in this room today. Anyone who was lucky enough to know retired Lieutenant Jonathan Hall knows what an extraordinary person he was. To many of us, he was a friend, a leader, a mentor, and a hero. It was 20 years ago myself, Lieutenant Campos, Sergeant Jambier, other members of the 84th class, met Jonathan at PS DuPont on a cold morning in September. From the beginning, he had that, I'm not sure what else to call it, but that Jonathan Hall sense of humor. I'm sure a lot of people know that. It was one of the many qualities that Jonathan shared with everyone. I know myself, every time I think about him, I go from a feeling of sadness to a smile on my face, and sometimes, even when I'm by myself, I'll just start laughing. Again, thinking of it as that Jonathan Hall sense of humor. This gift he had began the first day I met Jonathan, that cold morning in September. I still remember to this day, the first day we were all lined up, there's about 36 recruits. And I don't know, I know some retirees, but I don't know if they still do the dead bug. Everyone knows what that is, where you lie on your back, and you kind of keep your hands and feet up for a certain period of time. It's a really long time. Doesn't seem that hard, but it is. So after a period of time, our academy staff advised us we all had to say something, and they went down the line. And once we got down to the end, we would be done. So what would seem sensible would be I would say something pretty quick. We couldn't say the same thing, and if it wasn't good enough, the chief was our sergeant back then. I don't know if you remember, but so we all said something, and we were already lined up smallest to tallest. So myself, Jonathan Hall, and some other people were at the end. And so it's getting down to us, and everybody's saying something pretty quick. Had to be about PT. Some people said PT is like frosted flakes, it's great. Everybody should have done something short. Well, it got to Jonathan's turn. And he did some scripture poem, I'm not sure what it was, but it seemed like a novel because it took him for a while. And I remember, who is this guy? I didn't even know, who is this guy? That was Jonathan's sense of humor. Afterwards, I just laughed about it, and at the time, I'm sure I was mad, but afterwards, there was a great characteristic of him, his sense of humor. He always made me laugh. He had these quirks about him, but he was just such a great guy. And the sense of humor is one thing I always remember about him. But again, even last night, typing stuff up, I started laughing about the things that, the stuff that he did. At this time, I would like to call Shonda Hall, his wife, and her children, Jonathan Jr. and Morgan, to the podium to receive the class dedication.
I truly am humbled and honored to accept this beautiful dedication on my husband's behalf and on behalf of our family. I wanted to bail and not say anything, but I know that he would not want me to do that, but I am incredibly nervous. To Captain Massetic's point, Jonathan was a very dynamic individual. Anyone who knew him would say that. And so I had him for 24 years, and 20 of those years I shared with the Wilmington Police Department, and it was not always easy. There were days that I thought, who is this guy? But he had this kind of lifestyle mantra that he lived by that allowed him to continue to stay true to himself 100% of the time. And so for the graduating class, I would like to impart that to you because I know that not many of you knew him. And I'm going to give you another Latin phrase, carpe diem, seize the day. He lived by that, but not just as words. You see them on Tumblr, Pinterest, tattoos, and people don't truly embody the spirit of what that means the way my husband did. But he had a 4-point plan that he was able to embody carpe diem, so I'm going to share it with you and hope that for those of you who didn't know him, you can take that piece of him with you today. One was being grateful. I met him when he was 19 in college, 24 years ago. And every single day he was grateful. He woke up in the morning and thanked God when he went to bed at night, he thanked him for another day, another opportunity. The second was that every day he decided to be his best and do what was good. So even he spent a 30-day stretch in the bone marrow unit after he was diagnosed with leukemia and received his bone marrow transplant. And he felt awful. I mean, just awful. But every single day he would get up and say, you know what? I gotta get on this treadmill. God woke me up today. I'm gonna do a good thing for myself by giving an hour. And it got to the point where people would walk by that HEMONC unit, it was kind of a bubble, and they would look for him on the treadmill, and they started calling him Marathon Man because he inspired them. People I didn't know, doctors, nurses would come up to me and be like, oh, your husband's the Marathon Man. Yeah, like we're telling our patients about him, and they come by and they look at him so they can get like revved up and inspired to tackle this. The third thing that he did, as Captain Sedic mentioned, was had fun. Every single day, a lot. I honestly cannot imagine how the people who worked with him got anything done because he was so silly. He would make you laugh until you cried about nonsense. And you just couldn't imagine, how is this guy doing this difficult job? How is he embarking upon this difficult journey and still able to laugh? And lastly, he gave that good of himself to everyone with an energy that I don't have on my regular day. Most of us don't. He gave 110% to himself in each and every encounter that he had with people, period. The last very long stretch that he had been in the hospital, he ran into a kid that he mentored at Howard when he was a school resource officer, and this kid was broken up. Like, he just looked at, Detective Hall, he had been at the time, as invincible, just this force to be reckoned with, and he couldn't understand how this happened, how he got so sick. So he turns to me and he says, Mrs. Hall, is he gonna be okay? He literally had tears in his eyes, this young, very big man. And I said, I think so. And then here's Jonathan, who's lying on the stretcher, and he says, hey dude, seriously? I'm right here. And I know I look like crap, although that's not what he said. But my ears work, and so does my mouth, and you can talk to me. And so they talked until it was time for him to go back in for his study, and he left him with, I am so proud of you. I'm so proud that you overcame your obstacles and that you're here today, and you're doing this, and you're in school, and just keep at it, man. Just keep plugging at it. And every time I'm in Christiana Hospital, I don't know, it just must be God's intervention. I run into that kid, and he tells me all about school, and he tells me all about every, thing that he's done, an achievement that he's made at work. He's really doing extremely well. And so that's how he brought good into the world, by giving of himself. And at the end of the day, for you guys who are about to graduate, if you are grateful every day, if you show the world the good that you have every day, if you're having some fun every day, you will make a difference. You may not recognize it at first. I'm recognizing it more in my husband's death than what I actually did in his life, because I had no idea how many people he affected every single day. You have the honor of doing that, and then you come home, and you give all of that back to your family who supports you and loves you and who shares you every single day with this great city. Congratulations and thank you.